Okay, here's a question for you. What would you do if you could predict everything? And I mean, really predict it, not just, a guess about traffic, but everything. Every choice, every outcome.
Wow, that's a heavy one to start with. Changes everything, doesn't it? Your whole interaction with reality.
Exactly. It touches on free will, predictability, just massive ideas.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the territory we're diving into today, the whole philosophical side, the story side of predictive intelligence.
And we're grounding this in some really interesting source material, a Notebook LM source called What Would You Do If You Could Predict Everything?
Yeah, it's got this great mix, an essay, Q&A, even a detailed character primer.
Which brings us to the central figure for today,
Mm.
Spencer Johnson.
Oh.
He's a key character from the novel 10 by Hank M. Greene.
Right, the first book in the Time trilogy.
Yep.
So our mission today really is to unpack Spencer, his unique way of looking at people, at systems, and how his whole take on prediction shifts. It goes from just understanding things to actively trying to shape them.
And that shift is, well, it raises some pretty big questions.
Definitely. So let's get into Spencer Johnson. In the novel 10, he's one of the three main characters.
Right. You've got Max, who's all about deep space physics, the cosmos, the kind of fundamental why are we here stuff.
Picture thinking?
Totally. And then there's Beth. She comes from neuroscience, so she brings this incredible precision, but also empathy, understanding the brain's wiring.
So Max is looking out, Beth's looking in. Where does Spencer fit? What makes him different?
Spencer's looking at the mechanisms. He walks into the story as this really sharp, confident guy focused on systems, behavior, and crucially, results.
Not the philosophical why or the neurological how, but the practical how does it work and how can we tweak it?
Exactly. It's very pragmatic, almost like an engineer looking at human behavior.
And that comes from his background, right? He wasn't always building AIs.
No, he studied behavioral economics at Stanford, actually.
Okay, so not just standard economics, which assumes we're all rational robots.
Right. Behavioral econ is all about the psychology, the biases, the real reasons we make choices, why we don't act logically sometimes, and in predictable ways.
And for Spencer, this wasn't just like a major.
No, it became his entire lens on the world. He started seeing incentives everywhere, and not just as influences, but as, he called them levers.
Levers. I like that. It sounds active, like you're not just watching, you're pulling something.
Precisely. It implies control, influence.
Is that leaning towards manipulation, though? Or does he see it as optimization, making things better?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? For him, initially at least, it seems rooted in efficiency, reducing waste, making systems, including human ones, run better.
Okay.
His approach is always described as pragmatic, efficient, strategic. He's asking, how can we shape this behavior? How do we improve the outcome? How do we cut out the noise in decision-making?
Always looking for that optimal path.
Always.
But the source material makes it clear he's not like a sociopath or a purely cold calculator.
No, definitely not. He's human, he's driven, very self-assured, maybe even a bit arrogant sometimes. But his tool, his way of seeing, is through probability and optimization.
And why is that described as uniquely powerful today?
Well, just think about the world around us, right? Algorithms are constantly shaping what you see online, what news you get, what products are pushed your way. They're optimizing for clicks, for engagement, for sales.
Right. It's everywhere.
Spencer's genius is that he understands the mechanics behind that. He gets how incentives drive actions, not just in theory, but in a way that could be modeled, predicted, and, well, leveraged. That's power in a world run on data and algorithms.
Okay, so it makes perfect sense then that he ends up involved in creating AI, this core project.
Yeah, he's one of the three co-creators. Max and Beth are there too, bringing their perspectives.
What was Spencer's specific angle? What did he bring to core?
This is fascinating. He brings the logic of markets and incentives into an AI designed to understand awareness itself.
Okay, unpack that a bit. How do markets and incentives relate to awareness?
Think about your own mind. Ideas, thoughts, sensations. They're all competing for your attention, right? Spencer saw this internal landscape almost like an economic market.
Yeah.
Certain things have higher demand, curiosity, fear, the need for connection. These act like incentives, shaping what rises to the surface of your awareness. So core wasn't just processing data. Spencer's contribution helped it understand the economy of attention.
Wow, okay. That's a pretty radical idea. So they built core, but then things change. The government gets involved.
Right, the U.S. government steps in, sees the potential, and backs a new iteration. Core 2.
And critically, Spencer's architecture, his incentive-based logic, that becomes the foundation.
It does, but for something very different. Core 2 isn't just about understanding awareness anymore. It becomes, as the source says, a much darker, much more targeted intelligence system.
So his tool for understanding becomes something else.
Exactly, and that's the absolute core of Spencer's journey in the trilogy. It forces him, and us, to confront this huge philosophical question. What happens when understanding behavior crosses the line into shaping behavior?
Yeah.
When you go from observing the levers to pulling them with intent.
Yeah. It's one thing to know why someone might click an ad, another thing entirely to design the system specifically to make them click it.
Precisely.
Mm.
Is the difference between intelligence used for insight and intelligence used for advantage, for control.
That's the tension his story explores, the insight versus the influence.
And it's not just a problem for him in the story. It's a real-world dilemma we're grappling with more and more.
Absolutely. Which kind of brings us back to beginning, but maybe with more weight now.
Yeah.
When you see Spencer's path and you think about how powerful predictive intelligence is becoming, it really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
What are the ethical lines? What responsibilities come with building systems that can not only understand us, but also, potentially, predict and nudge our actions?
And what does that mean for us? For our choices, our autonomy, especially as these algorithms get more and more woven into, well, everything.
Yeah. What does that mean for the future? Something to definitely keep thinking about.